You follow the rules, you put in the hours, you do everything you're supposed to do to get ahead, yet you constantly feel like you're hitting an invisible financial ceiling. The harder you push, the more the system seems to be glitching out, keeping you exactly where you started. When we hit that friction, our immediate instinct is to focus on the top-line revenue. We assume the only way to fix a lack of wealth is to generate more cash. But this chart plots the financial outcomes of professional athletes, and the data reveals a severe drop-off. Within just 5 years of retiring, 65% of these individuals go bankrupt. Keep in mind, these are people who earned millions, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars. If someone can earn hundreds of millions of dollars and still lose it all in months, the root of the issue is entirely disconnected from cash flow. The problem is a hidden structural flaw inside the mind itself. To find that flaw, we must look at the core architectural conflict inside the human brain. Every day, you deal with a silent battle between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. Looking at this structural breakdown, the imbalance is extreme. Your conscious mind, the part of you setting goals and wanting wealth, is a tiny 5% user interface. The remaining 95% is entirely controlled by your subconscious, a massive operating system running quietly in the background. Because of that massive power disparity, whenever your 5% conscious desire for wealth comes into conflict with a 95% subconscious program built for poverty, the 95% wins, every single time. You see this bug in action whenever someone tries to brute force a new mindset. People will try repeating positive phrases in the mirror for a few days, get frustrated, and say, "Affirmations don't work for me." The irony there is thick. The sentence, "affirmations don't work for me," is an incredibly potent affirmation. Your subconscious hears that direct command, accepts it as absolute truth, and flawlessly executes it, locking you right back into a loop of self-sabotage. So where exactly does a self-sabotaging program come from? The reality is, you did not write your own operating system. The foundational code that dictates how you view money, success, and your own worth was fully compiled and installed before you even turned 7 years old. This brainwave chart illustrates the theta frequency. Theta is a slow, low-frequency electrical state in the brain. For the first 7 years of your life, your brain operates almost entirely in this state. It acts as an open, unfirewalled, pure record mode. Without a conscious filter, a child blindly downloads environmental data. When parents argue over bills or a community talks about scarcity, the child records that data as absolute truth. This leaves us with a ruthless reality. Psychologists estimate that up to 70% of the foundational code dictating your adult life was built entirely on the limiting beliefs and financial fears of other people. We can actually see this legacy code executing in real time by looking at one of the most famous psychological experiments ever conducted, the Marshmallow Test. The parameters of the test are incredibly simple. A child is brought into a room and offered a choice. They can eat 1 marshmallow right now, or if they wait alone in the room for a few minutes, they will be given 2 marshmallows. Researchers tracking these kids for decades noticed a distinct pattern. A child who was raised in an environment of financial scarcity almost always eats the single marshmallow immediately. For years, this was labeled as a failure of willpower, but it isn't. It is a flawlessly logical execution of their downloaded code. If your childhood environment programmed you to believe that resources are scarce and good things are easily taken away, eating the single marshmallow immediately is the smartest survival protocol you have. What we punish ourselves for in adulthood, calling ourselves undisciplined, lazy, or bad with money, is often just our childhood software perfectly executing the survival instructions given decades ago. You are running on legacy software you didn't choose, but you are not a victim to it. You can push a massive system update. The obstacle is that you cannot simply think your way to a new mindset in the middle of the afternoon. While you're awake, your conscious mind acts as a rigid, heavy firewall, actively blocking and rejecting any new beliefs that contradict your old programming. To bypass that guard, you don't need a hypnotherapist, and you don't need to meditate on a mountain. Biology already gives you a built-in backdoor. This graph tracks your brain waves as you fall asleep. As your brain slows down into deep sleep, it must pass through the suggestible theta state. That fuzzy window before drifting off is when the conscious firewall drops, opening access to your subconscious. Exploiting this window requires barely any physical effort. You just get into bed, put on earphones, and hit play on an audio track as you drift off to sleep. The payload of that audio needs to be deliberate. You listen to recordings of present tense statements that align with the reality you want to build. Specifically, statements declaring that you are fully worthy of wealth, that success is perfectly natural, and that opportunities flow to you. Because the conscious guard is effectively asleep at his post, these powerful audio files slide completely undetected right past your mental defenses. They bypass the 5% and download straight into the wide-open 95% of your subconscious. By doing this consistently, night after night, you systematically overwrite decades of buggy, limiting code. You replace all the inherited fears of your parents and your community with a clean, highly efficient new operating system. You are no longer the victim of your code. You are the programmer. The loophole is open. The question left is what software you will choose to run tonight.